Hello, thank you for joining this session. I am Hayden Hainsworth, a Principal Group Program Manager at Microsoft in our Cloud and Enterprise Security Engineering Division, where we look after Azure security and we build products and services to bring to market for you to be able to take advantage of or use on your premises. And subscribe to, actually. So this talk today is all about advanced threat analytics. And my Twitter handle is @cyberhayden. If you'd like to follow me, I usually tweet about technology, and it's a great way to stay current. I'd like to know how many of you have already deployed ATA in your environment. One. Okay. How many of you own EMS E3 licenses? Okay. If you own EMS E3 licenses, you own this product. If you own Enterprise Cal, you also own this product. So my aim, I hope that when you walk out of this session, that you all are inspired to go get this product deployed, especially if you own it already. And hopefully you will find out how simple it is to actually get deployed, and that you are inspired to go do that. That is my goal for this session. So I will start with well, before I actually do that, how many of you are familiar with the solution, like what the product does? Almost half of the room is aware. That means the other half are not. So some of this may be a little redundant, some of it won't be, but my aim obviously is to teach each one of you something new that you don't already know. So this product, Advanced Threat Analytics, came from an acquisition 3 years ago. The company name was Arado. It's an Israeli company. For those of you who might not know, Israel is thought of as the Silicon Valley of cybersecurity. So we purchased Arado 3 years ago. Arado in Hebrew stands for invisible. The product was designed to detect lateral movement as a result of compromised credentials, and it was designed to be invisible to the adversary. We believe that every industry needs this product. There is no industry that's immune from being targeted by the adversary. And so whether you're in government or public sector, whether you're in manufacturing, whether you're in telecommunications, education, banking or financial services, you're likely a target. We also assume breach at Microsoft. This is a really critical mindset that informs how we think and how we operate and how we continuously harden our environment. And so if you assume breach as a mindset, you recognize that you need to do a lot more than protecting your perimeter, but you need to be able to detect adversarial activity and then build, obviously, an appropriate response plan and mitigation plan. So the attack kill chain, how many of you are familiar with the the original Lockheed Martin kill chain? Anyone? No? Okay. All right, a few of you. So what we did was we took some liberties with that original kill chain from Lockheed Martin, and we applied it to this product. And so I thought I would walk us through it. With any compromise, an adversary is going to start with their external reconnaissance. So basically what they're doing there is they're studying you as an individual, someone in your company, or your company at large, to gather as much information as they can. With external reconnaissance, they'll look and they'll do searches on the web. They'll find out more about the company. They're creating a profile, basically, in which to build potentially a spear phishing or a phishing campaign, or a way to compromise a machine and get an initial foothold in the company. So this product does not begin at all with external reconnaissance or compromising that initial machine. That's all about protecting the perimeter. This product is a detect product. So it's going to start with that internal reconnaissance. And this is, quite frankly, a gap in a lot of products today on the market, is they will focus on protecting the perimeter, but they are not able to detect that lateral movement, the privilege escalation, domain dominance, and that's what we hope to give you the ability to do in your network. So from internal reconnaissance then, what happens is the process of hunting for more credentials. They will use the NTLM hash, or they'll use the Kerberos ticket. They'll pass the ticket, they'll pass the hash. They're compromising credentials. They'll brute force, either a horizontal or vertical brute force, to be able to guess passwords in the environment, compromise more credentials. They're looking to do their administrative reconnaissance. From there, they want to obtain the domain admin creds. Once they've done that, and this process happens very fast. There are a lot of tools on the market, Mimikatz, Bloodhound. They make this, Kali Linux, they make this incredibly fast and easy for the adversary to compromise credentials, do their admin reconnaissance, and compromise domain admin creds. From there, a second adversary is brought in, and this adversary isn't skilled at compromising credentials and laterally moving on the network, but is actually skilled in understanding and hunting for that special IP that's unique for the company that they are intending to exfiltrate, right? So if you're a pharmaceutical company and you've got special drugs, they're going to bring in a special adversary that's highly skilled at being able to identify unique pharmaceutical drug creation. Or if you're a large bottling company and you've got a special secret recipe, right, that you would like to keep secure, that's what they're hunting for, is that secret recipe. Or special blueprints if you're in a construction company. You know, whatever that top secret IP is that's critical to the company, that adversary is skilled at looking for it, and obviously what they want to do is exfiltrate and complete their mission. So, classic tools on the market are going to help you protect your perimeter, right? There are intrusion detection systems, but this product does not overlap with classic intrusion detection systems. But it will give you what I call eyes-on lateral movement. Very similar in military terms to night vision goggles, right? You need to be able to see in the dark. You need to be able to see that lateral movement on your network. And so this is exactly what this product provides. The earlier in the kill chain that you detect the adversary, the better. We assume breach, and there are a lot of enterprises that already have known adversaries that have achieved domain dominance and are persistent on their network, right? They're this close to completing their mission. But in some cases, companies will deploy this, and they'll detect some reconnaissance, or they'll detect some hygiene-related issues, like finding LDAP simple bind in plain text, or broken trust relationship. They'll find maybe some abnormal behavior between their users or their machines. So every enterprise is different, and only you probably know whether you suspect that you may have someone that may have compromised global admin creds, or there may be some adversarial activity, but this product will detect that for you. So I have mentioned this a little bit, that traditional IT security tools, and the reason why we bought this company, the reason why we offer it in E3 as part of our security, our enterprise mobility and security suite, is to give you a very simple product to use that is designed to detect lateral movement and aggregates the signal to help simplify the problem associated with false positives, and also aggregate the alerts so that it's simple and intuitive for you to understand, to take action on. Classic tools are overly complex, prone to false positives, and designed to protect the perimeter. So UEBA is a new market space, User Entity Behavior Analytics. It's a UEBA product, that's where it fits. And basically what this is looking at what is normal and abnormal behavior for your humans and your machines and your resources on your network. It's going to use machine learning algorithms in order to be able to profile behavior, create a baseline, and detect anomalies. So how does it work? There's two components to this. There's studying the behavior of the humans and the machines and the resources, and there's also providing that advanced attack detection, so the classic deterministic attacks, the reconnaissance techniques, the lateral movement techniques, domain dominance techniques like golden ticket or skeleton key malware. It's the combination of those two that is what this product is all about. It's quite similar in some regard to the banking industry and credit card fraud, even though it's not a fraud product. But you know, I'm from Seattle. I've landed in Sweden. My credit card knows that I've traveled. I've gotten on a plane. I've checked into a hotel. And so if I were to use my credit card back home in Seattle, they'd probably see that as suspicious activity because they have already known that I've left the country, and they would prohibit that charge from occurring. We don't take action for you. That requires your decision to take action. We just will fire alerts for you on suspicious activities. So the benefits are to be able to detect threats as fast as your enemies, to adapt as fast as your enemies, to focus on what's important with that signal aggregation and the intuitive timeline. I will move out of PowerPoint, I promise, and I will go into the demo so you can see the UI and we can investigate some of the suspicious activities together. We'll reduce that fatigue from false positives and help you prioritize and plan for next steps. So how does it work? There's 3 primary steps. The first is analysis, and then it will learn, and then it will provide the output. And so in the analyze, you basically have there's 2 different types of configurations. For those of you that were aware of this product before, you knew that it was all about port mirroring to be invisible to the adversary, and that introduced cost and complexity and latency into the equation. In some cases, you might not actually have the ability to add more resources, and/or it's counter to the strategy of the company on a migration to cloud, right? And so there's 2 options. You can do port mirroring to run ATA off the domain controllers, or you can run an agent on your existing domain controller footprint. So we brought that to market. So it'll be either or, it'll run as an agent, but basically what it's doing is it's analyzing all the Active Directory traffic and the DNS traffic, and it's doing deep packet network inspection and correlating IP address to end user and aggregating all of the results. So it starts learning. This decision tree that it builds takes 21 days, right? It's going to learn the normal behavior for your humans, your machines, your servers on your network. That takes 21 days for it to build a decision tree. From there, it will continuously learn. If, however, it finds a deterministic attack, it will fire an alert immediately. So there is no learning time associated with the deterministic attacks. There is some tuning to it, right? It's going to learn, and it'll fire an alert. It might fire an alert on malicious replication of your domain controllers. And you may say, well, hang on a second, it's coming from my Riverbed steelheads. Like I expect my Riverbed steelheads to do malicious replication, or it's not malicious, replication of my DCs. And so you'll tune in, you'll say, yeah, I expect this to happen. And then it won't fire an alert again. So it's going to learn your environment. And then from there, it's going to detect the abnormal behavior, the deterministic attacks, and it will raise the red flags or the suspicious activities when they're contextually aggregated. The whole idea is to make it simple and intuitive for you to understand. So this is just a summary on the alerting, that it reports those suspicious activities. It's a very simple, functional, actionable timeline. It's just like a Facebook or a LinkedIn social media feed where you see a date and a time stamp, and you can scroll down and see an escalation occurring. It tells you the who, the what, the when, the how, and it also provides some recommendations. So I like to build this slide out, and then I'll talk a little bit about the architecture, and then I'll move into the UI and do a demonstration of the product. So I introduced that ATA kill chain, right? And how compromises occur and how they move machine to machine on your network in order to be able to escalate privileges and achieve domain dominance. And so on the reconnaissance phase, the adversary will either enumerate accounts or enumerate net session or DNS or SAMR, and we'll fire those alerts for you in recon. This is ideally, you want to be able to detect it in recon. If you don't detect it in recon, compromised credentials, you'll see combination now of abnormal behavior alerts that are fired and or known deterministic attacks that occur with compromised credentials. And brute force, the horizontal and vertical brute force, password spraying, stealing the NTLM hash. How many of you are still running Windows 7? Okay. How many of you are on Windows 10? Oh God, that's great. Well done. That's really great. So in Windows 7, stealing the NTLM hash to move laterally or passing the Kerberos ticket is quite prevalent in the industry. There's also encryption downgrade that we see where there's a higher level of encryption that's available. However, they use a lower level of encryption. The honey token, suspicious activity, so we encourage you to set up a honey token account. Obviously, we wouldn't expect any activity on the honey token, so we'd fire an alert here. And then lateral movement, I've already covered passing the ticket and passing the hash, overpass the hash. These are classic lateral movement techniques. Privilege escalation. So we patched our servers for these two exploits, the forged pack and silver pack, years ago. However, we still see the adversaries attempt to escalate privileges, in real time. And so we will fire a failed attempt. That failed attempt is a true positive, right? It's not a false positive. They failed to exploit it. However, it actively tells you they're on your network, actively trying to escalate privileges. So it's super informative. And then domain dominance, right? So golden ticket, skeleton key malware, or abnormal modification of sensitive groups. Remote code execution, we see this. In the banking industry recently, there was they were concerned about domain dominance. They knew the adversary was persisting and asked whether they should reset the curb DGT twice. I said yes. They weren't able to operationalize that, and money was exfiltrated out of the bank. So now they're relying heavily on this product, and they're increasing their operational posture to be able to accelerate resetting that curb TGT twice frequently. So some other key features. There's auto updates, just Windows Update with this product. When we add, it's agile engineering, we continuously improve the product and add new detections based on what our security researchers find in the wild. And you can integrate the product to your SIM. If you prefer to view all of your alerts in the SIM, you can do that. If you would rather view the alerts in the console, you can do that. It's your choice. And the deployment is relatively straightforward. So in terms of the architecture, there's two server roles. We have the center, which is the processing engine. It's the database. It's the UI. And this is where you can either send your alerts to your SIM through syslog forwarding, or you can send alert notifications to your email, or you can log into the console, your choice. And then there's these two different options that you have. And it all basically is dependent on your traffic, on your domain controllers. So we've got the lightweight gateway, which is the agent running on your existing domain controller footprint, or the gateway, which hangs off of your DC via port mirroring. There's trade-offs in terms of this, like the one will introduce cost and potential latency. If port mirroring is something that you can do, great. You can have a hybrid environment. You can have some lightweight gateways in your environment and some gateways in your environment. It's all dependent on how much traffic is running through your domain controllers. So in terms of rough math, we look at your busy traffic, how many packets per second are flowing through your domain controllers. If it's less than 10,000 packets per second, then it qualifies for lightweight gateway. If it's greater than 10 or 15, 20,000 packets per second, you will need a full gateway. And the current gateway's theoretical max is 50,000 packets per second. However, we know we can exceed that number. So we have a sizing tool. That would be a call to action. I can actually toggle to it and show you it. You run this sizing tool. Someone with admin privileges runs it for 24 hours and will provide you a really nice summary Excel spreadsheet that shows you how many busy packets per second are running on every DC in your environment, and then what the minimum CPU and memory you would need in terms of resources to allocate in order to run these on your existing footprint or for the gateway. So what I'm going to do is go to the UI, because you've been patiently watching, PowerPoint. And so here is the console. It's like many other consoles that you probably have experience working with, and you can see the summary of the alerts. We bucketize them in terms of high, medium, and low. You can look at, I have none that are closed. I have none that are suppressed right now. But what you'll notice immediately is the date and the timestamp and the color coding, right? So you can very easily just scroll down. These are all aggregated. They're not individual, they are aggregated results. And so back to the kill chain where we started, right? Reconnaissance is the first, internal reconnaissance is the first phase of the kill chain. And from internal reconnaissance, we see honey token activity, suspicious authentication failures, identity theft using past the ticket. So now we're moving into compromised credentials and lateral movement. Remote execution attempt is detected. Malicious replication of directory service and Kerberos golden ticket activity. That's domain dominance. So you want to, you want to be able to detect the adversarial activity in the recon, right? Domain dominance, you're almost close to mission accomplished for the adversary. So at any point in time, you can actually search any user, computer, or server by going into the search bar, or you can drill down into any one of these. So I'm passionate about this golden ticket activity, so we can go into it, just click on it, and you can learn a little bit more. You can see that there's suspicious usage of the admin's curb ticket, indicating a potential golden ticket attack was detected. It gives you a reason, and each one of these objects you can then click into to learn more. So this administrator's account has 4 suspicious activities. We can drill into it from here, but before we do that, we can see, what is the reason? This curb ticket was used over a period of 14 hours, which exceeded the allowed maximum of 10. You can see that the victim PC, it's a Windows 7 machine. It has 10 suspicious activities on it, right? Was used via the admin's curb ticket over this 14-hour period. We give you some evidence below. Some of you may not be able to see this, so I will try and zoom in. That might be a little easier for you in the back. And it just gives you a little bit more information. The curb ticket was used to access 3 resources. It tells you when the last password update time was, 6 months ago, and the admin had not been observed logging into that victim PC recently. So if we wanted to, from here, we could go into these 3 resources, and you could see, you can see which particular resources they are, and then you can continue your exploration there. Before I do that, there's these 3 ellipses up top, if you can see in the back, right here. Do you see this? Yeah. So if we click on that and we want more information, you can close and suppress right here. You can share it, delete it, or download the details. So I want to download the details, and I will get this Excel spreadsheet with a lot more information. It's kind of hard to see in the back. Oh, that's not helpful. Sorry. So there's multiple tabs at the bottom. It's going to show you the source account, the source computers, the access resources, the network activities, the related entities. I like the network activities because it shows you, this is not helpful. Sorry. Sounds like a storm, huh? Let's kill that. We'll go here. Here's some related, I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my little zoom it thing for you guys in the back. It gives you the ID, the type of computer, the name, and the unique entity JSON. Shows you the abnormal domain controllers in play. So gives you the source IP, all of that. So lots of really great additional information for you to go that aids you in your investigation. So back to the timeline. This is the summary UI. You can explore any object. You can dismiss them if you feel confident you've resolved it, and/or you may need to get some additional resources involved to go do an investigation. In one organization, they had known APTs. They had run an incident to clean their environment. They deployed ATA as part of the cleanup effort, and it's shown a spotlight on the same adversary. Actually, it was a Windows 7 client machine sitting in a server organizational unit, which shouldn't have been there, out in India. And clearly their work was still not done. So here's some examples for you. And I can spend some more time in the UI digging into each one of these alerts if that's of interest to you. Or we can go back to our architecture. Slide. So that, in a nutshell, is classic ATA. I can walk you through some documentation online and show you the ATA sizing tool. But what I wanted to do was also give you a sneak peek into what's coming. Have you heard of Azure ATP? All of you? Did you all go to Ignite? Nobody went to Ignite? One person? But you heard of Azure ATP? Here. Oh. What? Oh. Okay. Well, then, okay. Well, that's great. It's coming soon. This is all about, why did we develop it? We developed it because customers wanted to be able to have the server in the center server role in the cloud, and then the power of signal aggregation correlation between all of the products working together on your journey to cloud, right? But many of you may still have an on-premise environment that you want to harden, or that you need to harden for one reason or another, or that you need to run the classic ATA on. Many of you may have IaaS DCs and or are in the cloud, and so this is in limited private preview today, which you probably all know about. But this is all about that hybrid play. So let's look at suspicious, what's normal, abnormal behavior for your identities on-prem and in the cloud, Azure ATP. So have you all seen the documentation for ATA then? The technical documentation? No? Okay. So, Trump. Cannot get away. There, now you're lightening up. Cannot get away from him. So just on docs.microsoft.com, there's lots of really rich information for you. There's the architecture, which I showed you. You can learn more. But I thought what we could do is go into the planning, capacity planning. So I talked about the sizing tool. The sizing tool is super helpful. And basically, it will, if you run it for 24 hours, it will show you the number of domain controllers in your environment and the maximum, average, and busy packets per second. Have you guys seen the sizing tool before? No, but you've heard about Azure ATP. This is practical. It's something you can all go do, right? You can download the sizing tool and run it, and then you're going to get this beautiful Excel spreadsheet. And it's going to show you the center, remember the two server roles, the center and then the lightweight gateway or the gateway. So basically what we're interested in looking at is these busy packets per second. So in this case, with this sample, 457 packets per second. Each one of these are candidates for the lightweight gateway. It's super easy. In some cases, we see domain controllers that have 70,000 packets per second, right? In that case, you'd probably have to make a decision to add another DC and split the traffic. They're also at 100% CPU, right? They're already overtaxed. But in this case, you're looking at the center, you're looking at the domain controllers, and below all of this, we show you the resources that are needed for the center, for the lightweight gateway, and for the gateway. So, for the ATA center, we scale from 1,000 packets per second all the way up to 1,000,000 packets per second. And you can see the number of cores and memory. Can you see in the back? Yeah? And the IOPS that are needed. So in some really large environments, you may actually exceed the 1 million packets per second. But the best thing to do is to run that sizing tool, and then we just have the facts to be able to assess what our options are. When you have Azure ATP, this goes away, right? Because you can scale up with Azure. So for the lightweight gateway, here's the current limitation. It's 10,000 packets per second. 10,000 packets per second is the theoretical max. However, in practice, we know we can go beyond that. And so then it's up to you what you're most comfortable doing. You can test it and see if we drop packets. The authentication traffic will always come first, and we need a certain amount of space. At some point, we will start dropping packets if the domain controllers get too busy, and we will send you alerts when we're doing that. So some companies have gone beyond the 10,000 packets per second, 15,000 packets per second, 18,000 packets per second. They're comfortable with it. It's a decision that they've made. So even though we've published 10,000, I know in practice we've gone far beyond that with many customers. But this gives you a sense of the resources that are needed for the lightweight gateway. And then here's the gateway. So this is port mirroring. This is up to 50,000 packets per second. Once again, you can exceed this. It's not a binary number. But you can see how many resources it needs to run. And the spreadsheet, the output of the sizing tool, is going to very neatly show you what the recommendation is. So if you have a virtualized environment, it's super easy, right? You can just add some more resources. If it's physical, you may have some trade-offs. But I would just encourage you to run the sizing tool, run it on a very busy day on the network, run it a couple times if you like, to compare and contrast the numbers, and then just assess in practice how much of your fleet can you actually run the lightweight gateway on, and how many gateways might you need. And don't let it be an all or nothing decision. Right? Some detection is better than no detection. So anyway, so this is the sizing tool and capacity planning. Does anyone have any questions?
Can we run Wisdom in Azure VMs?
Azure IaaS, DCs, yes, yes. Yeah.
Does it integrate with OMS, log analytics?
It integrates with Azure Security Center, and Azure Security Center has integrated with OMS Security. So OMS Security and Azure Security Center are now one product, and Advanced Threat Analytics sends its signal to Azure Security Center. Anyone else? No? Yeah?
Is it a way to test if it works? If it doesn't detect anything?
Yeah?
Does it have a very good environment, or does it not work maybe? Can I test it?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So the question is, how can you verify that it's indeed working? So I had a customer contact me. They hired a partner to deploy ATA for them, and there were no alerts firing. And so they didn't know if it worked. And they were frustrated, right? And so they gave us a call. Well, they had flooded the domain controllers. They'd flooded ATA with all of the traffic. We just needed the AD traffic. So they didn't follow all of our technical documentation, and that's why they weren't seeing any alerts. Once they actually reconfigured it based on the technical documentation, then alerts started firing. So a good way to test it, obviously, is to deploy it. And that's the only known case I have where they haven't had any alerts. So to know that it's working, you'll get alerts. And that tells you something right there. If you wanted to do some more penetration testing, you certainly could, right? A lot of companies will just run some attacks, and they'll see it detect it. You can steal a ticket from one machine to move laterally, it'll detect it. So you can hire a third party, or your own people could do it, but you could basically pen test the product.
You can test honey token
yeah.
as well.
You can test honey token account. You can configure the honey token account to see if, well, you can test it, or you can see if there's any activity on it. Yeah. Anyone else? No? Are you encouraged and inspired maybe to go run the sizing tool? I'm getting some heads nodding. Yeah? So I lead the customer and partner experience team in security engineering. And basically, as the company shifted to services, engineering recognized that we needed to take a more active role in your success and understand your experience to help resolve blockers to adoption. So I have people that can help you, and there are partners in the area that also have skills and competencies that are backed by our team that can help you. So if you find yourself overwhelmed because you have too much work to do, you're like, I know I need to do this, I can't get to it, you can leverage one of our partners, or you can leverage somebody from my team, and we can help guide you through that journey, right? And what we want is to learn from you, like what's working and what's not. What's intuitive to understand and what's quite frankly confusing, right? Like we fixed our technical documentation based on that one experience when they sent all the traffic to flood ATA. That's just one example. So hopefully you're inspired to go do that. Know that you have resources available to help you. And my machine is conveniently fallen asleep. And you know, it's quite straightforward. So that's all I had in terms of the presentation. I'll give you back time. I'll stay if you want to have a private conversation, or if you want to follow up and have a discussion later, we're happy to help you. Yeah? I'd love to see the Swedish market lead with detections. Yes?
Do you need to run the sizing tool on every DC?
Yeah, global admin. So I can show you. Let me go to the sizing tool. It's moved. There we go. So here it is. Here's where you download it. And here tells you you need .NET 4.5.2 or later installed. It uses the RPC protocol, specifically remote WMI and remote perfmon over RPC. You need your domain admin creds, and you're going to run it for the whole environment.
You get the results for the domain controller. Where do you decide where you put your report mirroring? If
right. Yeah.
Above 10,000?
If you're above 10,000. So I have spreadsheets here with sample outputs. However, they also have real data in them, so I'm not going to share them with you. So I'll just talk to the numbers. So you will get a summary of all the domain controllers, and you're looking at the busy column, right? And in that busy column, you're going to have some that are in the hundreds, some that are in the thousands, and then they're scaling all the way up, potentially. So then you have to make a decision in terms of, you know, how much resources do you have that are available, and how busy is the CPU? And then based on that, how comfortable are you testing it going beyond 10,000 to 12 or 15? And some have tested it actually up to 20. So we have some companies that have a lot of hardware to throw at a problem, and they actually sent too much hardware its way, so it had a different problem there. But if you just give it enough resources, it will be able to go beyond what we've published. These are conservative numbers. Yeah, and they're not binary. Bye-bye. Anyone else?
When will we see the Azure ATP?
Good question. When will we see the Azure ATP? Well, we had code complete recently, but there's a lot of work left to do. I can't even demo it. We don't have a demo build. The Ignite demo was a special one just for Ignite. So we're thinking in H1 of calendar year. So it's not tomorrow. It's not this year, but you'll see it next year.
What about the
Integration with Defender ATP we have.
Yeah, from the beginning, from the start.
Well, there's a lot of work that we're doing with integrating with Defender ATP. And then this ties into the Azure security story as well. So Office 365 ATP, have you seen the threat protection slides from Ignite? You've all seen it. So you can see how they work together, right? Office 365 is your first line of defense from phishing or malicious URLs or malicious attachments. Advanced threat protection is going to, we have a 0-day detonation chamber to help prevent something from landing in an inbox. If something actually maliciously gets on an endpoint, then Windows Defender ATP is going to detect all of those processes and child processes in memory. And then it integrates also with ATA for the abnormal behavior and the identity-based attacks. So we are already sharing Signal. We continue to work to integrate those products so that we provide value back to you. There was a new ransomware that hit Eastern. You all know about this yesterday. Bad Rabbit. Yeah. So those of you, those of you that have deployed Windows 10, have you deployed Defender ATP? Okay. Well, you might consider deploying Defender ATA. You're already there with Windows 10, right? I know this is an ATA talk. But you're already there. And for those that are running Windows 10 ATP, you're protected from that malware. So anyway, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to stay if you have private discussions you'd like to have, and I hope you learned something, and I hope you go do something back home. So bye. Thanks.